Darkness took their first steps as the service door slammed shut behind. The alley behind the White Wolf Cafe covered in an inky blackness. City light provided little illumination. Aric gagged at the smell of rotten food and dead animals. And a smell he couldn't place. "What is going on?" Crawford, his boss, said, pushing past him, the door slamming shut. "Tomorrow, I want you to clean up this alley." Tonight, the alley felt different. Many of the amber wall lights that normally lit the alley were out. The remaining casting ominous shadows. Aric twisted the door knob to return to the safety of the diner. Locked. He fumbled his keys, unable to find the keyhole. The old wooden door held firm even after he beat on it with his hands. His boss was too cheap to replace the door with a more secure steel one. The hair stood on the back of his neck, and the sensation of being watched gnawed at him. He closed his eyes and rested his head against the door and tried the knob one more time. "Come in, you chicken," his boss said. The alley dead ended at the diner service door. Only one way out. Crawford looked at him, shook his head and started down the alley. Dumpsters hid in the shadows with lids that banged in the wind. Something scurried across Aric's feet, squeaking along the way. He shivered and gnawed at the cold January wind. Aric hated rats. "Ugh," he said. "What?" his boss said impatiently. "Something ran across my feet." "Suck it up, Buttercup." Aric trotted up to Crawford. A few feet of progress and a plastic bag full of garbage tangled his feet and he fell to the ground. His hands scrapped on the black top. Looking up, Aric saw a pinpoint of violet light ahead. "See that?" he said. "Just a sign or something." "Now let's go." Crawford continued his waddle down the dark tunnel as Aric flipped up his collar and put up his hood against the January wind. "I don't remember this alley being this long." Crawford's foot landed in a puddle. "Crap. These are new shoes." Several minutes seemed like hours, and they seemed no closer to their objective. The alley appeared to go on and on, more like a train tunnel through a mountain. Metal scraping on the brick and clicking sounds came from behind them. The plop of paws echoed off the brick walls. Aric knew feral dogs and coyotes sometimes came into town. But how could they be behind them? The thud of footsteps mixed in with the other sounds. The animals had a friend. "Who's there?" Crawford said, looking around. Aric looked back and saw 3 pair of yellow eyes floating high in the darkness. They glowed and seemed to focus on him only. Dogs didn't get that big, and neither did coyotes. 2 points of red light materialized above the others. They picked up their pace. At least as much as Crawford's hulking mass would allow. Finally, the end of the alley approached and the pinpoint disappeared. They rounded the corner to find themselves on a dark street. Few familiar streetlights greeted them. Only darkness and silence. The parking garage that sat at the end of the street was dark and only a dim outline. It is a monument to minimalist construction. Concrete pillars and beams. The cavernous structure offered 4 levels of parking for the North District's patrons and employees. One of several scattered throughout the area, it boasted large ramps and a bright and safe environment. But not tonight. A violet dot inside the structure cut through the blackness. "I gotta rest." Crawford leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. Aric shivered. Lack of body fat and muscle left him prone to cold weather. The clicking sound got louder and now growls mixed in. "No. We have to go," he said. They made it to the dark elevator lobby and were greeted by the smell of urine and sweat. Aric frantically pushed the up button, but it neither lit up nor did the doors open. He grabbed the handle to the stairwell, but the door held fast. Looking back, the outline of large dogs trotted toward them. A tall, thin shadow figure was close behind. He took the man's hand and tried to get him to move. "Knock it off." "I'm coming." Aric pulled him into the garage. His shoes peeled off the sticky floor. The ramp up to the left and parking to the right offered 2 means of escape. "Let's take the ramp," Aric said. "The other elevator is probably." "I'm not going up the ramp. There's another elevator just over there." Aric grabbed Crawford's hand. The man pulled it away and snarled at him. Crawford waddled to the elevator on the far side of the structure. Aric's old Honda Accord. His refuge, waited on the top level. He ran up the ramp. The smell of oil and urine barely registered. The slap of his footsteps echoed off the thick concrete walls. Empty stalls flew by. They would welcome the cars of busy shoppers in only a few hours. He slipped on a patch of grease and fell. Not deterred, he ran on all fours. Then threw himself up ran. The next ramp. Second level. He glanced to his side as he ran. The outline of several large animals and a tall thin figure chased him. The figure looked at him. Its eyes glowed red. He heard a deep chuckle. With his attention on his pursuers, he ran into a chain-link fence that contained an assortment of ladders, buckets, and other repair supplies. He pushed off and sprinted to the next ramp. Third level. Just one more. A whistle reverberated off the concrete. He heard the barking of the animals and a raspy word. Go. The clicking of their nails got quicker. The animals now barked. The fourth level opened up to the air. The Accord was only a few feet away. He pulled out his keys as he made it to the driver's door. A flash of violet light illuminated the ramp. A yelp, then all was silent. He fumbled his keys and yanked open the door, falling into the driver's seat. The electric locks provided a welcome sense of security. He thrust his hands in front of his face as another burst of violet light erupted from the ramp. He floored it and started down the ramp, slowing only to avoid the massive concrete columns. No sign of his stalkers on any of the levels. The car's tires squealed as he took the corner and almost rammed the wall. The Accord flew through the exit. In his rearview mirror, the parking structure's lights lit up. He wondered if Crawford made it.